Hello everyone, welcome back to another AP Physics 1 review problem. Today we'll be going over dynamics in the MIT AP Physics 1 workbook. Excuse me for not uploading lately. I've had some technical difficulties with my setup, but I hope to fix those problems in the near future. With that being said, let's go and continue with the problem. So question 1 says, a ball of mass m is suspended from two strings of unequal length as shown above. The magnitudes of the tension T1 and T2 in the strings must satisfy which of the following relations? And then we have our choices. So first thing I would recommend everyone to do is split your components, your forces into the X and the Y components. So for tension 1, we can draw a right angle right here. Let me do that better. Just draw here to make a right triangle. So then we have our X component and then we have the Y component. And then a different color, we can draw here the X component and then the Y component. So we can see that both tension 1 and tension 2 will both have a Y component acting to pull up this force gravity, so mg, if you remember from the video, this mg pulling down on the ball. And tension 1 and tension 2 both have that Y component pulling up on it. But one thing we can notice is how different the lengths are of the X component and then the X component for tension 1. And another thing we can look at when comparing these two is if we look at the angles that they make, we can see this angle and this angle. We can notice that tension 2 has a bigger angle, or like a more pointed downwards force compared to tension 1. That means tension 2 is acting more in the vertical part of the ball's um sorry, the vertical part of the ball's force gravity pulling down on it. And we can see that since this is acting more in the vertical sense, the tension 1 is going to make up for its lack in the vertical with its X. And knowing that, we can use that knowledge to find the magnitude of tension 1 compared to tension 2. And since we know that tension 1 has to make up for its lack of tension in the vertical axis, it's going to have a greater X tension than tension 1's. Sorry, it's going to have a greater X tension of 2, so it's greater than 1. So tension x1 is greater than tension x2. Now that we know that tension x1 is greater than tension x2, based on the magnitude, we can say that if we had this tension 2, and we drew the x and the y component, we could say the x is 5, and then the y is, we could say, 8. And here we have tension 1. We can say that the x is 10 and then the y is 7. If we found the hypotenuse for these right triangles, we would get the square root of 10 squared plus 7 squared and the square root of 5 squared plus 8 squared. And plugging that into our calculator, we get that this hypotenuse would be 12.2 and this one would be 9.4. And with that, we can see that tension 1, the total magnitude of that vector is 12.2. Compared to the 9.4, we can definitely tell that the 12.2 is the greater one, which is tension 1. So that would leave us with choice B as our correct answer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know this one was a pretty challenging one. So if you guys do have any questions, please leave the comments down below and I can try to answer them. And another thing I'd recommend is watching YouTube videos. You can either watch mine or try to find someone else if my style doesn't suit you. But I would understand this topic most definitely since this is one of the heavy topics in AP Physics 1. With that being said, I hope you guys have a good day and continue your prepping.